starters for both teams. First from Fairfield, coached by Sidney Johnson. Forward 6'6" freshman from the Democratic Republic of Congo, number 13, Jonathan Tobey. Forward 6'9" senior from Gary, number 5, Captain Jr. At forward 6'6" senior from Schwartz, Delaware, number 14, Marcus Tobey. At guard final sophomore from Houston, Texas, number 1, Jerome Sagrano. And the guard 6'3" sophomore from Bradford, Massachusetts, number 3, Isla Nelson.
Welcome to the CBE Hall of Fame Classic. Today, the #1 team in the nation opens its home schedule. The Tar Heels of North Carolina back home to welcome the Fairfield Stags to Chapel Hill. Good crowd on hand on this beautiful fall day here in North Carolina. Alongside former Notre Dame star LaFonso Ellis, I'm Clay Matvick. Tara Petrolino will be joining us shortly. North Carolina coming off a Sweet 16 season, and they return 4 starters, Fonz. That's the main reason they're the preseason #1. But for basically the first month of the season, they're going to be playing without their best player, Marcus Page.
Marcus Page broke his right hand, which is his non-shooting hand, and they'll miss him, but it all is not lost because it gives an opportunity for 2 guards, Nate Britt and Joel Berry, to develop some confidence, to be able to knock down some three-point shots, to lead this team. Something that North Carolina is going to need desperately, depth at the guard position once Marcus Page returns, if they want to hang a banner, a championship banner here at the Dean Dome.
There's Page looking snappy in that suit, but he's not accustomed on game day to wearing that uniform, let's just say that. He was hoping that he might still get back before December, but it's looking very likely that December 1st is the set date for his return to the team. These guys are itching. They're ready to go, Fonz.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're careful with that. You don't want your best player coming back too soon and have a setback. North Carolina could ill afford to have Marcus Page out of the lineup for an extended period.
North Carolina in their home whites, and Fairfield in road gray. We're underway. Meeks, a beautiful pass right off the get-go to Jackson. Justin Jackson The sophomore from Texas scores the first points.
Coach Roy Williams wanted him to be more aggressive, looking to attack the basket. He's been able to do that here early in the season.
Now Fairfield has it. They have a lot of veterans back, all 5 starters returning. That's off the heel, no good. The miss for Marcus Gilbert. He's their best player.
Transition defense is going to be huge for Fairfield tonight, playing against one of the most explosive transition teams in the country in North Carolina.
North Carolina coming off a win over Temple the other night. That shot is off the mark. No good for Theo Pinson. King keeps it alive on the baseline.
A lot of drive and kicks. North Carolina struggled against the bounce against Temple. Temple was spreading them out, 5 out, and attacking them off the bounce. Let's see if they can contain it a little bit better tonight against Fairfield.
Here are the lineups for these teams. Fairfield has a nice mix of vets, some new blood. Marcus Gilbert, as we said before, their top guy, 16 points per game last year. North Carolina, Joel Berry running that backcourt, and Theo Pinson starting while Page is out. And of course, that front court is very formidable.
Well, and you see a 2-3 zone employed tonight by Fairfield because they want to force North Carolina to do just that. Shoot jump shots. Don't want them to get inside with those bigs to dominate that backboard nor the paint. Nice pass. He's got to go straight up when he catches that basketball underneath. A little intimidated by the size of Carolina.
King from the short corner missed it. So some empty possessions being exchanged here. Coming back, Berry. High off the glass, no. And Casa Babu, the big freshman from the Congo, with an impressive rebound.
That's a shot he can make.
Nelson misses the 3. Good rebound, Segura. And that floater doesn't go.
Fairfield's getting some really good looks here early. They just can't knock the shots down.
And fouled from behind Bryce Johnson, the veteran big man. And for more on Marcus Page, here's Tara.
Thanks, Pay. Well, I spoke to Marcus this morning at shoot-around, and I said, hey, what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now during this process? And he said, honestly, it's just staying engaged and keeping focused. He said, that's been the hardest part. He said, listen, I've just got to be a huge cheerleader for this team, for the bench, for the next few weeks. And he said, hopefully, in my absence, it'll give our backcourt an opportunity to gel and grow. Clay?
All right, thanks, Tara.
And Tara, you talk about gelling. How about Bryce Johnson, the guy on the free throw line right now? Last year, he was really up and down in terms of his production. He'd have 22 one night, come back the next night, only have 1 basket. So they need that kind of consistency from Bryce Johnson, 11 in white as well.
So Johnson gets 1 of 2. He was a 68% foul shooter a season ago. This is King. Scott King from outside the arc, no. And no points on the board yet for Fairfield.
And that's a good shot for Scott King. He can make those. But again, Fairfield having a tough time finding the range, whether close in or from deep.
And coming off a loss to Yale the other night in the opener. Jackson from 3, no good. Both teams cold from the field here to start. Gilbert penetrates, throws it up, and he drew the contact. And we expect to see a lot of fouls called here, especially in the early weeks of the season, Fonz, as these teams adjust to the new directives given down to the officials.
Yeah, especially off the bounce. None of that hand checking, no arm bars. So look for the referees to call that tightly here early. And I think that's good for the game. I think long-term, Clay, what I'm concerned about, what's considered incidental contact. I think they're going to have to take that into consideration. We had a nice conversation with Fairfield's coach, Sidney Johnson, earlier today in shoot-around about the exact same thing.
They want to increase the pace of play. They want the game to be less physical, less brutal at times. And I think that's all good. It's going to be a prettier game to watch. Here's a 3 ball. Doesn't go down for Berry. Good rebound underneath. Meeks forces it back up and in. Kennedy Meeks came off a double-double Friday night against Temple. 25 points, 11 boards. This is going to be a big year for him.
Yeah, when you play against this North Carolina team, you have to keep them off the offensive glass. They were 8th in the country in offensive rebounds last year, and Kennedy Meeks is terrific on the glass.
Fairfield still without a field goal. Nice. Theo Pinson, the crossover and finish.
But that is vintage Carolina basketball. When they can pull that basketball off the backboard, get in transition, they have several guys who can finish at the rim.
They're falling in love with that three ball, and the Stags haven't hit one yet. That time Tyler Nelson with the miss. On the run, Kennedy Meeks. You know what? He looks like he's in the best shape of his career.
He's running better than I've ever seen him run. And for a guy who was 271 going into his senior year and getting down to 240 before season started, I can personally attest to how much easier it is to get up and down. Nice little back cut there. And fine for Marcus Gilbert.
Scott King with the assist. And Gilbert with his first field goal. It's 9-4 North Carolina.
And those opportunities will be there for Fairfield if they're just patient because of how North Carolina overplays the passing lanes.
Pinson's triple doesn't go. There's Meeks with another good rebound and the stick back. He's got 6 now.
Well, and that's one of the concerns when you're playing a 2-3 zone against a team like Carolina. It's not as easy to find blockout assignments. There's so many gaps to be able to run to the backboard. Kennedy Meeks has been really good here early.
Segura found some space close to the hoop, finishes his first 2.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Segura be a lot more aggressive looking to attack off the bounce because he's terrific at finishing around the rim.
Kennedy Meeks, former McDonald's All-American out of West Charlotte High School, out to a good start. He's got 6 points. The #1 team in the country in their home opener has the early lead here in Chapel Hill. Back in Chapel Hill, and you're watching the ACC on ESPN alongside former Notre Dame star LaFonso Ellis on play. Matt Victera Petrolino is with us too. It's 11-6 here, North Carolina early, and what have you seen here in the early minutes from the Blue?
It's really been the transition game. You're talking about a North Carolina team that last year were 8th in the country in points per possession, and when they're playing well, they're pulling it off that defensive board, and they are out, and they have been active early in transition. They're terrific throwing it ahead, but the big difference is that big fella right there, Kennedy Meeks, running the floor, down 55 pounds, so much more agile and active, and he's showing it there tonight.
6 points, 5 rebounds for Meeks here in the first few minutes of this game. He's going to take a breather now. North Carolina was cool to start. 1 for their first 7 from the field, now 4 for their last 5. Fairfield had a bench warning for getting out on the court late. That's one of the directives, too, from the officials, to get the teams back out on the floor quicker to speed the game along. I think everybody's going to cheer that.
Yeah, 15 seconds to get him out of there. Otherwise, you get a warning. Next time, it's a technical foul. 1 free throw for the opposing team.
When you and I were talking with Roy Williams before the games, he says he likes most of the new changes. Thinks they're all going to be good.
See, this is where Fairfield has to get some easier opportunities. They have to look to attack early. They're not doing a good job of getting North Carolina when North Carolina's in a retreat. It'll lead to some easier shots for them.
Tyler Nelson, their best three-point shooter, missed that one. He was 0 for 4 from outside the arc against Yale. They really need him to hit those shots to have a chance here today.
Yeah, that's one of the issues. Number 14, Marcus Gilbert, needs some help. He's their leading scorer. That's a huge shot there from Tyler Nelson. It'll open up the offense a little bit and force North Carolina to have to make longer runs, creating some angles to be able to attack off the bounce.
Fairfield within 2 and a foul called on the baseline. That's on Coleman Johnson. That's his first. And Johnson's a guy who led Fairfield in block shots last year. That's what he was trying to do there against the 6'10 Bryce Johnson. But didn't work out.
Yeah, Bryce Johnson's like a pogo stick down there. He really gets off the floor quickly. I'd like to see him use a bit more of that and take his time and just turn around and shoot straight over the defense. There's not too many guys that can challenge him at the top, especially with that high release.
There you see Johnson's numbers from last year. We were talking with Coach Roy before the game, and he said, you know, believe it or not, I've been working with the big men my entire coaching career, and he has probably put in more time with Bryce Johnson than anybody just to try and make him more consistent.
Yeah, it's been on him a lot. You can usually see him barking at him, and he wants the best for him. He wants to see him maximize that potential because there's no reason Bryce Johnson can't be one of the best power forwards in the nation.
There is Coach Roy. 13th year here at Carolina. 28 years as a head coach overall. 752 career wins. 7 Final Fours, 2 national titles, both as head coach of the Tar Heels. Those knees have been bothering him a little bit, and it's probably the only thing slowing him down these days. He's 65 this year. As sprightly as ever. And is coming back the other way.
Bryce Johnson kind of throwing the defensive player out of the way to get an advantage to get to the glass. That's a really good call by the referee.
That's the first on Johnson, team's second foul.
Watch Bryce Johnson, 11 and white here. He just throws him out of the way. Can't do that right in front of the referee.
No.
That's a good call.
So Johnson goes to the bench.
Nice.
Oh, and Gilbert couldn't handle that hot pass, and it was a good one from the point.
Sometimes it's tough to thread the needle there because you don't get a good angle because of your defensive player's hand being in the passing lane.
4-point lead for North Carolina. There's Barry. And Nate Britt. Barry in the corner. There's contact. That's going to be a foul on Matija Milan, the freshman from Serbia. His first.
Yeah, that's a tough matchup right there. Joe Barry's really good off the bounce and recognized he had a speed advantage there and tried to attack the baseline.
Isaiah Hicks in the game now for North Carolina, and there's a foul against the Tar Heels.
Yeah, and that's another one of those fouls this year that the officials are going to be looking for. The offensive player gaining an advantage with that offhand. I've been waiting for 6 years for them to make that call.
So it's on Nate Britt, and he was ejected for leaving the bench during that skirmish against Temple the other night. Still ended up getting 15 points. That was nearly turned over. Kept alive by Segura. Nice pass to Millen, but can't finish at the rim.
Again, that's that size of North Carolina in the heads of Fairfield's bigs on the interior. They are rushing everything around the rim.
Pinson looking for help. Got it to Barry, all alone for 3. In and out. Nice putback by Isaiah Hicks to make something out of that possession. North Carolina still without a 3 in this one.
Fairfield doing a nice job, though, of taking away the interior game initially. That's a big shot there from Coleman Johnson. If he can make a few of those, it'll open up the lane for dribble penetration.
That's his first 2. It's Fairfield hanging around.
It's not been the first shot that's hurt Fairfield. It's been their inability to keep North Carolina off the glass.
That missed everything for Britt. Now Joel James had it stripped.
But Joel James got to go straight up with that basketball right away.
Gilbert for 3, off the lip. The thing on James, they always say it's his hands. Sometimes his hands just let him down. Barry. And short jumper goes down. And answering right back is Matija Milan, who had 8 points off the bench Friday night. He's having a good freshman year so far.
Yeah, Millen has a pretty versatile game, can shoot it from three, can put it down, get to the rim. He just needs to add some strength to not get bumped off his line on dribble penetration.
Just a 4-point game here. Barry thought about the shot, moves in. Left hand, a little strong. Came right back to him, and again, there are those hands, couldn't corral it, but Barry helps him out. Kept alive, steps into a shot, and nailed it.
And Clay, those are the types of shots that if Joel Berry, Nate Britt can continue to make those shots when Marcus Page comes back, boy, North Carolina's going to be tough to beat because now they can get you in all three phases. 3-point shot, off the bounce, and in the post.
Boy, Millen looking good.
I love his versatility.
This is Joel Berry. Got the bounce. 6 for Berry here in the first half.
See how aggressive Berry's been so far, Clay? When Marcus Page is on the floor, he has a tendency to stand and watch Marcus Page offensively. Tonight, he's looking for opportunities to put it on the deck. I'd like to see him continue to do that when Marcus Page returns. Another big one from the corner from Goldman Johnson.
He's got 4 now, 21-17. How much fun is it going to be to see Berry and Page in the backcourt when Marcus gets healthy?
Wow. I mean, can get up in you with speed, can shoot the outside jump shot.
Britt for 3. Bingo. Well, that 3-point shot has been eluding North Carolina up to this point. Nate Britt gets it to go, a 37% 3-point shooter a year ago.
That was my major concern about this Carolina team is not their front line, but can they make enough perimeter shots as teams start to play them zone? If Joel Berry and Nate Britt can continue to knock it down at that clip, teams are going to be in trouble.
Baseline jumper. Johnson didn't get it to go on that side. Tipped around, kept alive. Gilbert goes up strong and finishes. Marcus Gilbert now with 8.
13 All-MAC last year.
Yeah, the best player on a 7-win team a year ago, but they're going to be much improved this year for Coach Sidney Johnson, no doubt about it.
A lot of really good freshmen.
That 3 doesn't fall for Berry. Boy, the pace of this game is terrific. Nelson, no. And Theo Pinson on the weak side.
Yeah, not many whistles here early. Good flow.
No for Britt. And just one shot on that possession for Carolina.
Yeah, and with Fairfield, they don't have the kind of depth, especially along their front line, that North Carolina has. So if this gets into a track meet, it favors Carolina. That's right.
Segura. Jerome Segura, the sophomore from Houston, has 4, and the freshman point guard gets North Carolina to call a timeout with 8:39 to go here in the first half, as the Stags have pulled to within 3 here in Chapel Hill.
Fairfield's been doing a nice job lately of attacking off the bounce. North Carolina's weak side defense has not been there. Segura's been able to get all the way to the rim. This game is played at Fairfield's pace.
Home opener for North Carolina, and they got a good one on their hands here. We're back in a moment. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Pep Boys. Trust the boys to get you there. Sidney Johnson, 50-year head coach for the Stags. The former Princeton standout has had 2 down seasons, but he's got everybody back this year, and he's fired up.
We can control what they see from us in terms of our character, in terms of our identity. Okay? These guys don't come to Walsh. They don't come to alumni. They don't come to Webster Bank Arena. They don't get a chance to see us. So we can control what they know about Fairfield when they leave this building. Right? Let's go!
And Fonzie has to be pleased with the way his team has played here so far in a tough place to come in and play basketball.
Has forced Carolina to be a jump shooting team, which is not their strength. That 2-3 zone has really taken Carolina out of their post-game offense.
And Bryce Johnson just committed his 2nd personal foul. And the 4th on North Carolina. So now Fairfield comes up with a chance to tie with a 3-ball.
Again, we talk about strategy. Fairfield wanted Carolina to shoot a lot of jump shots, and they forced them to do that here in the game.
That's going to be a double dribble on Segura, so the Heels will get it right back. Segura has a bright future.
Yes.
For this Fairfield team. Became a starter at the midpoint of last year.
That's something Carolina will do. They'll jump and blitz you out there to double team at the top of the floor. So far, Fairfield's handled it well. That's their first turnover against those traps. Nice pass.
Luke May, a freshman who they plan to ease into the rotation from Huntersville, North Carolina. He's on the board with his first 2. And the lead is 5 for Carolina.
A little tough to trap Bryce Johnson there along that baseline because he's so tall he can see over the top and find people. Fairfield may have to adjust that strategy depending on who catches it in that short corner area.
Stags have hit 7 of their last 11 shots. Segura tried to get a pass across the lane. Oh, look out. Johnson goes into the 3rd row. That's 230 pounds landed on you. We got a good ball game here at Chapel Hill.
Presented by State Farm. Exist to assist.
Sidney Johnson Stags within 5 here with 7:19 to go in the first half alongside LaFonso Ellis and Clay Matvick. And let's take a look at Fonz's focus.
Yeah, the Fonz's focus is about what the underdog needs to do to win the basketball game. As you can see, Carolina excels in so many areas. This game for Fairfield is going to come down to their ability to keep North Carolina off the offensive glass and keep this team out of transition. They've done a nice job in transition, but they've been unable to keep Carolina off the glass.
Nelson with a deep 3. Kept alive. Here's Gilbert. He'll hoist a 3, and he got it to hit the bottom of the net. And it's a 2-point game.
And you can see how quickly Fairfield is getting back and getting that defense set up to take away any easy opportunities that Carolina may get in transition. So far, the defensive game plan for Fairfield is working beautifully.
There's contact underneath against Fairfield, and that's going to be against Kasababu.
And Clay, I like what Carolina's doing here on the ball reversal. On the ball reversal, they're putting one of their bigs in that short corner area, and they're getting it down to him because Justin Jackson, Bryce Johnson, those guys on the front line are at least 6'9". They can either take the shot or see over the top to find guys underneath, and they've been able to do both. I'd like to see them continue to do that against that 2-3 zone.
Justin Jackson at the line. Started 30 games as a freshman last year. The McDonald's All-American out of Texas. Had some growing pains last year. Here he misses both. There's a foul over the back against Meeks. But I think on balance, Roy Williams would say that Jackson had a pretty solid year, and he thinks that the sophomore year for him is going to be one of good production.
Yeah, tell you what, for being up and down early in the season, his last 11 of his 12 games was in double figures and shot 45% from the three-point line. No wonder they were able to get to a Sweet 16.
Look out below. No, got it to go down. They're going to count it. Nate Britt went in for the slam and got a beautiful bounce.
Wow, look at the quick hands, and Brett out in transition, recognizes where the defender is, and goes up and gets it on the glass. But that was a good reaction there by Marcus Gilbert, just a little too late. Carolina has increased the defensive pressure. Let's see if Fairfield can handle it.
And now foul on Jackson. That's his second already. And the 6th team foul against Carolina.
Fairfield's going to have to continue to mix when they take their wide open jump shots, but also look to put it on the floor. Early in this season, Carolina has not been able to consistently guard off the bounce.
Gilbert from the corner. He's got 14 points, and the Stags are within 1. Turnover, chance for Fairfield to take the lead. Travel.
Yeah.
Couldn't handle that pass from Segura, and Johnson coughs it up.
And in talking to Coach Sidney Johnson of Fairfield, when Marcus Gilbert is going offensively, the team is going. The last game they played against Yale, he only had 8 points, got into foul trouble early, never was able to establish a rhythm. Different night tonight. He's shooting from 3 with confidence, putting it on the deck and getting to the rim as well. And that's why Fairfield is in a close game in North Carolina.
Meeks doesn't get it to go. Johnson on the backside. Nice twist in the air to finish. And it's 30-27.
Sometimes the second shot off the glass for Carolina is the best shot for them. They are outstanding on the offensive glass.
3, Gilbert, new. Good hustle by Millen to keep it alive for the Stags. Jumper, Segura, strong, and Johnson has the rebound.
Fairfield's a little quicker to the ball right now than North Carolina, and I think that's another reason why they find themselves only down 3 here on the road.
Berry with the shot fake, moves in for a closer look, missed the floater, and boy, they really miss Marcus Page right now. They need a calming influence.
Quick shot.
Tracked down by Segura. Gilbert, deep 3.
Gilbert's got a
great
drive.
rebound, yeah. Casa Babu. And they'll reset that 30-second shot clock.
Well, this is what happens with Carolina at times. Because of their size and athleticism, they're not fundamentally boxing out, and that's why Fairfield's been able to get to so many second chance shots.
They're going to call a jump ball. Berry doing a great job to wrestle control of that basketball and get the tie.
I tell you, you got to love this. Guys getting after the basketball, trying to come up with second possession for their teams. Both coaches clapping for the kids.
And there is Marcus Page again out with that broken right hand. Fortunately for him, it's not his shooting hand. That should make it easier when he gets back to action to get right back to work.
Indeed, it's easier when it's your guide hand versus when it's your shooting hand.
So the possession arrow favored Fairfield. Segura had it taken away. Britt, headman pass, and that's going to be goaltending as Kenny Williams went in for the layup.
Clay, as the pace of this game changes to get more of an up and down kind of tempo, it favors Carolina because they're so deep, 10 guys deep that they can go with. Wow.
Timeout here in Chapel Hill. North Carolina with a slim lead late in the first. Back here in Chapel Hill, this is not the first time that these two teams have met. In fact, not the first time that they've had a close matchup. Fairfield, 18 years ago in the NCAA tournament, almost knocked the Tar Heels out of the dance. They were a #1 seed in Dean Smith's final season as head coach. And the Heels managed an 8-point victory. Nothing came easy. They trailed by 7 at the half. Fairfield was within a few points with about 3 minutes to go. And fans were sweating it out, North Carolina fans. And that win tied Dean Smith with Adolph Rupp for the most wins all time. They got the win, went on to the Final Four.
That's pretty impressive. And this Fairfield team, just like that one, is giving Carolina a battle here tonight. Carolina 1 for 10 from the three-point line, after going 7 of 12 from 3 against Temple the other night.
And foul on Joel Berry, his first. And the 7th team foul against North Carolina, so that puts Fairfield at the line. Joel Berry missed a lot of games last year. That groin, that foot was a problem. But upon his return for Roy Williams last year, he was a real big spark for North Carolina.
Yeah, people forget that he was dealing with that groin injury where he missed 8 games, but to your point, upon his return, he shot the basketball really well, made 10 of his last 23s on the season. He and Justin Jackson were huge in that late season surge that they made.
Went to the Sweet 16, loss to Wisconsin, who went to a Final Four. There's Joel James getting inside and drawing contact. Final year for the big man who has improved a lot at North Carolina, Joel James.
People forget that the reason he's been so slow to acclimate to the college game is he only started playing basketball his sophomore year in high school. And big men, it takes them a lot longer to develop than the small guys.
.67% foul shooter is James. Very well liked and trusted at North Carolina. Represents the ACC on the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. There's just one student athlete in the entire ACC that does it, and it's Joel James.
How about that? Love seeing young fellas taking a little bit of responsibility.
Gilbert leaning in, and he gets the finish.
How good has he been here in the first half? That's 16 points for that young man.
Now it's back to a 3-point contest. Gilbert 6 of 10 from the field. Berry for 3, and North Carolina needed that.
Now 2 for 11 from the three-point line. They need Joel Berry and Nate Britt to be able to knock down perimeter jump shots to open up the lane for their bigs.
Segura, nice pass to the trailer. Kasababu didn't get it to go. Now here comes Kenny Williams into the front court. James, nice pass to a wide open three-point shooter. Britt misses. Tipped. And that's going to belong to North Carolina. To the Stag.
That's really good effort by Jerry Johnson there to be able to catch that basketball, get under control, and bounce it off North Carolina's knee. Good court awareness.
Well, 4 starters back for North Carolina from that Sweet 16 team a year ago. 9 of the top 10 scores. That's a lot of points from a year ago. 84% of the rebounding is back for Carolina. And that's not unlike the veteran teams that Williams had in 2005 and 2009.
Wow. Yeah, there's that new rule. They were a little confused on whether they should take a media timeout, but now we're under that 4-minute period. Yeah, because we took it like at 4:18 on the clock.
30 seconds of a media timeout, that call counts as a team's timeout. I think that's a good rule, too, and it's going to take some adjustment.
But you can see we're right back to action versus going to another timeout.
Foul on Berry. That's his second now. Three-time Mr. Basketball in the state of Florida. North Carolina picked to win the ACC. Virginia second, defending national champion Duke picked third this year. And your alma mater Notre Dame, which won the tournament last year in the ACC, picked fourth. Do you think that's a fair assessment of the ACC in the preseason?
Yeah, I think so. And all of that is considering who brought how much back. And for this Carolina team, my goodness, they have all their major pieces back with the exception of J.P. Tokoto. 9 of 10 returning.
Isaiah Hicks. Might not recognize him because he's wearing number 4 this year. He changed his number from 22, but same player. A junior from Oxford, North Carolina, has 4, and it's the biggest lead for North Carolina.
How about the bench depth that Carolina has across their front line? 5 guys in the rotation.
They feed the block, Kasababu.
It's a nice move.
Yeah, it is. Didn't get the points, but he does not look like a guy who's picking up basketball late in life. I mean, he's only been playing a few years.
Yeah, he's doing a nice job of battling down inside with this vaunted front line of Carolina. It's a good call. Didn't quite establish proper defensive position there. And when the contact happens, to take the offensive player off his line, it's going to be a foul. That was a good call by the official.
That's the second on Kasababu and 16 foul against Fairfield. So we'll see North Carolina on the line the rest of the half. Under 2 minutes to go before the break.
With Kasababu out right now, North Carolina should really dominate the offensive glass.
And that's on Gilbert, his first.
Clay, something to keep a little lookout for. Remember we were talking about bench depth for Fairfield? At some point, I'm concerned about them really wearing out because Carolina's got so much more depth, and these guys have played a very tough and physical first half. They just don't have the number of bodies to be able to give guys rest.
Another foul shot for Pinson. Got them both. And the lead back to 10 for North Carolina, which is on an 11-2 run. Gilbert missed badly on that 3.
So they're settling for the three-point shot right now, and it's just not going their way.
And Britter's foul trying to come back up the floor.
When Fairfield was at their best, Clay, they were attacking off the bounce, getting to the rim. If they didn't have anything, they were kicking for open shots. They were able to get a couple things off the bounce at the rim. Lately, they've been shooting a lot of three-point shots, and when you're having to grind defensively against a team like North Carolina, it makes it awfully tough to keep knocking down those perimeter jump shots.
Well, now get one.
We welcome you to Chapel Hill. You're just watching soccer. Tulsa with an exciting penalty kick win. We're watching the #1 team in the country, the North Carolina Tar Heels, in their home opener against the Fairfield Stags. And the Stags got within a point only moments ago and had a chance to take the lead, but North Carolina has heated up. They've gone on a run here late in the first half. Alongside LaFonso Ellis, I'm Clay Matvick, Tara Petrolino on the sidelines. And North Carolina trying to adjust here in the early weeks of the season without their best player, Fonz, Marcus Page.
Yeah, broke that right hand, non-shooting hand for him, but it's going to be out for about 3 or 4 weeks. And this is a great opportunity for their other guards to get some confidence and knock down some shots.
Nelson missed that layup. Rolls out of bounds to North Carolina. Fairfield missed its first 7 shots, but then got going, especially their star player, Marcus Gilbert. And North Carolina struggling from outside the arc in the first half. 2 of 13 today. Part of the reason that Fairfield kept it close for quite a while.
Yeah, for one point, it was 1 of 10 from the three-point line. But coming into this game, Fairfield wanted to utilize this zone to keep North Carolina out of the painted area. And they've been able to do that fairly successfully, but you know when you're playing against North Carolina that they're going to get to the offensive glass, and they have been phenomenal on the offensive glass in this first half.
Just 40 seconds to go here in the first half. Shot clock to 5. They tried to feed it inside to Kennedy Meeks and take it away, tied up. And this is going to be a timeout granted to the Stags.
And only the players can make that call this year during a live ball situation. The coaches can only call it during a dead ball situation. So that's another new rule for this season.
One of the more than 30 new rules or changes being implemented in college basketball this year. So Roy Williams, 13th year head coach, has time to talk to his guys here with 30 seconds to go in the first half. North Carolina, one of the best teams in the country in transition every year.
Yeah, they were 8th in the nation last year, transition points per possession, and they've been no different here early. Kennedy Meeks, spelt slim down, is running the floor nicely, and how about Benson? That's where he excels. When they can get out in transition, this Carolina team, now they put so much pressure on the defense to have to get back. They've been terrific in that phase of the game this afternoon. 13 points in transition for Carolina.
You saw the run there for Carolina here late in the first half, and Fairfield needs to get it going again. They had it going for a while, but now just one of their last 9 from the floor.
Fairfield settling for too many jump shots. They got to get something off the bounce.
The big man with the steal, Kennedy Meeks, and he'll go to the line. The foul on Coleman Johnson, his second.
That kid's down 55 pounds from when he walked on campus, and you can tell the renewed Kennedy Meeks. He's getting up and down the floor nicely. How about jumping in the passing lane there, getting out in transition, handling the basketball? I am really enjoying and really proud of Kennedy Meeks for taking the challenge of getting his body weight down so that he can be more of an effective player, and he certainly is now.
He's a lean, mean fighting machine, just like John Candy in Stripes, right?
He looks great. We got a chance to talk with him earlier today, and what a neat, nice kid. This whole North Carolina team, they're all that way, just so humble, so appreciative for the opportunity that they've been given. Very difficult not to root for these guys.
Now the free throw shooting leaving something to be desired for North Carolina. 6 of 14 from the line so far. Final seconds here of the first half. Fairfield has a chance to take that last shot. Down 11, deep 3, Johnson, got it! It'll count if it goes. It does not, and Fairfield will be down 8 at the half.
Yeah, that's a big confidence boost for Fairfield, who had gone exclusively to the three-point shot and hadn't been able to knock any down, but sometimes you need a big player to step up and make a big shot. Jerry Johnson did exactly that. The freshman knocking down a deep ball to give them some momentum going into halftime.
Sidney Johnson is with Tara.
Coach, first half against the #1 team in the country. You're within 8. What did you like from your squad there in that first half?
Well, I love that I recognize the team I've been coaching since the summertime. You know, they're just playing great together. They're treating each other like brothers, extra passes, and we're fighting on the down here rebounding-wise. Jonathan helps us out so much with that.
Marcus Gilbert with 16 points. How do you get the rest of your team involved on the offensive end?
They'll get involved because he's evolved as a player, okay? You know, he won't force any shots. He'll make the extra passes. Tyler and Jerry, as you see, Jerry can make shots. So we've got some other guys who can get involved. The extra passes have to come. Hopefully Carolina pays attention to Marcus and some of these other guys get freed up.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
The former Princeton standout, Sidney Johnson. His team down 8 at the half. Now we go to Brendan and Dino in the studio for the halftime report.
Clay, thank you very much. First half is in the books. Carolina with an 8.
I've been really lucky, to be involved in the game for over 50 years as a player and a coach. And as a coach, I try to get into the moments of the players that I coach. That's what the cool thing about coaching in college. You can be a player your entire coaching career. And one of the fondest memories I had is our first championship. I was with a group of youngsters, Jay Billis, Mark Allery, David Henderson, Tommy Amaker, Johnny Dawkins, who those guys, when they were freshmen, had only won 11 games. And now they were in their senior year, and we're playing the University of North Carolina, rivalry game in Cameron, which is the best environment. And I know I'm prejudiced, but it's the best environment. And we're playing, if we win our first regular season championship. So a lot of people say, well, you've won a lot of championships. Well, the fondest memory is the first one. The place is going nuts, and it's obviously a really close game. So many talented people. And at the end of the game, the last 2 minutes, every kid on the team did something special. You know, Amaker hits a shot, Dawkins goes in, David Henderson, makes a tremendous drive, and all of a sudden at the end of the ball game, and when we know we're going to win, the exhilaration, I got chills thinking about it. I see Mark Allery and another one of the seniors on the team, Weldon Williams, hugging one another. And I never even knew they were that close, but the exhilaration of winning at that time was immense. And then people stormed the court. And we have a thing at Duke where you don't storm the court unless you win a championship. And we did. And really, as a result of having that fond memory, I've had other ones, but that was my fondest memory, and I'm glad to share it with all of you. Mike Krzyzewski, Duke University, never graduate.
Let's take a look at the ACC media preseason poll. Dino Gaudio, you're technically a member of the media now, but as a coach, you didn't vote in this. As a coach, what stands out to you?
Well, I like North Carolina where they are. I 4 starters back, 5 other guys that contributed last year. We know Virginia was the best defensive team last year, and they will be again this year. And I saw Duke 10 days ago, a much different team. Okafor, the number 3 pick, Winslow, the number 10, Tyus Jones, the number 24 pick. But you know what? There's another star emerging at Duke, Grayson Allen.
Which team on the right side is maybe dangerous?
Well, I think you're looking at possibly a Miami, a Syracuse. I really like Miami. I saw them. I think they're very, very good.
Elsewhere in the ACC, Clemson, Florida State, Wake Forest, all taking care of non-conference matchups and getting a win. North Carolina has a lead at the half on Fairfield. Nobody's in double figures for the Tar Heels. Bryce Johnson has 5 points, 4 rebounds. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Kennedy Meeks had a huge ball game on Friday night in the opener for Carolina. Had 25 points, 11 rebounds. He's got 6 points at the half, including those 2 off the window. North Carolina a 40-32 lead on Fairfield at halftime. And still to come tonight on ESPNU, Siena taking on Wisconsin. Western Illinois beat Wisconsin in the opener. The Badgers going to try to bounce back.
Well, the thing they have to be reliant upon is their defense, which they didn't do in the opening game, because their offense is going to be a work in progress. But boy, if they want to repeat, if they're going to be the 17th team in the country and repeat in the Big Ten, then they better defend early.
That game at 8 Eastern. Coming up next on ESPNU, tip time at 6 Eastern is North Carolina State. This is Joel Berry. He leads the Tar Heels in scoring at the half. The second half from Chapel Hill starts after this short break.
Welcome back to the CBE Hall of Fame Classic. The Dean Smith Center here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The #1 team in the country going at it with the Fairfield Stags. And through the first 20 minutes, North Carolina got a ball game from the Stags. Of course, they're still without their best player, Marcus Page, out with that broken hand. And you can see that they're still trying to figure out some things without their star athlete. They're going to get him back here probably by December 1st. But there's some growing pains going on right now because at times the Stags were the better team.
Yeah, their inability to knock down open shots has really been what has prevented this North Carolina team from getting out to about 20. But the transition game has been terrific. They've been able to pull it off the glass, get it out. They have tremendous athletes who can get out and finish. And Kennedy Meeks, this guy's down 15 pounds, able to get to the offensive glass while running the floor. And they've been dominating the offensive glass in the first half. And that's when North Carolina's at their best, when they get to the glass and get out in transition. And they've been fabulous in both areas in the first half of this game.
North Carolina working it inside to Bryce Johnson.
How about Fairfield getting up in the air, blocking the shot?
They have come to play today.
That's the
Joel
shot
Berry for three. Got it. That's his second triple. He had 9 in the first half. Now at a dozen. Leading scorer for North Carolina. And again, a lot in the backcourt is resting on him with Page out.
Well, the ability to make shots. Teams are going to double North Carolina or zone. Nice move. Woo, that's pretty.
Kasababu can't get it to go. Tipped around. Comes back out. And Nelson will reset.
But Carolina has to be able to make perimeter jump shots. And that's going to be the key for them for the entire season. Team's going to continue to zone them. They're going to continue to double team the post. And they're going to give up those skips. And they're going to have to be able to knock them down. That's a nice shot there by Tyler Nelson.
His second three. And let's go to Tara, who talked with Coach Williams.
I asked Coach what the biggest adjustments he looks to make here in this second half. He said, well, we got to play a heck of a lot harder. He said, we must be sharper with our passes and do a better job against their zone. And then I said, Coach, what did you see that you liked in the first half? And he looked me right in the eye and he said, nothing.
He's got high standards. So does Sidney Johnson. And I think he's feeling a little bit better about the effort. Johnson left it short. Went in for his own rebound, but Kasababu got there first. Here come the Stags. Down 8 points. Left hand, no. And Meeks rips it away. Meeks was very good in the first half. 6.7 rebounds.
Love the early push. Carolina's got to get more of those here in the second half. Look to try to get something in transition or get it in a secondary break.
Let's take a look at Fonz's focus.
Well, these were big keys for Fairfield coming into this game in order for them to win. And so far, North Carolina's had their way in transition and on the offensive glass. In play for Fairfield to win this game. They had to take care of these areas and not allow Carolina to dominate. They've not been able to do so. 15 second chance points, 13 in transition, off 9 offensive rebounds. And that's where Carolina's at their best, when they can get out and exploit you in transition and on the glass. That's why they find themselves with an 8-point lead on their home floor.
And the big man for Fairfield now with 3 personals. That's Kasababu. Pinson missed that shot. Theo Pinson, the sophomore from Greensboro.
Nice shot fake.
Nelson, the reverse. Nothing to show for it, but that was a pretty move by Tyler Nelson. 10th rebound for Meeks. Oh, and the flush on the other end for Johnson.
And this is where Fairfield's going to miss Kasababu. They don't have the size on the interior. I expect North Carolina to continue to dominate the offensive glass, especially in his absence.
Gilbert a step back 3. Maybe we'll see Johnson do what he did in the first game against Temple. A quiet first half, big second half. Now Pinson draws the contact.
Look, the beautiful penetration. This is where I like, this is where Joel Berry's at his best. Pushing as deeply as he can, forcing guys to step up, and he has wonderful vision, and there's not a better finisher in the country around the rim than Bryce Johnson. Boy, he gets in the air quick.
Double-double against Temple, 16 points, 10 rebounds, but again, after halftime is when he was his most dangerous and helped North Carolina pull away from a very good Owls team.
Yeah, he goes into a little cruise control on occasion, and he plays a little flat. But when he can play with tremendous energy, effort, and not take plays off, Bryce Johnson is a super basketball player and should be one of the top power forwards in the country.
Pinson at the free throw line, making it a 12-point game. Biggest lead for North Carolina. Again, Johnson, one of the 4 starters back from that Sweet 16 team a year ago. 9 of the top 10 scorers back. Guard J.P. Tokoto turned pro after his junior year. That surprised a lot of folks here in Chapel Hill. Ended up being the 3rd to last pick in the draft. Otherwise, they'd have 5 starters back.
I was surprised he left too. I really like J.P. Tokido. Good guard, excellent in transition, improved jump shooter.
And Fairfield turnover. Tonight at 8 Eastern, we've got more college hoops on the U. The 2K Classic is Nigel Hayes and the 17th ranked Badgers, stinging from an upset the other night, take on Siena in Madison. Game also streaming live on Watch ESPN. Bo Ryan, I'm sure, embarrassed by the way it turned out against Western Illinois the other night in Madtown. They really are a mad town after that loss.
Yeah, they weren't very good defensively. Gave up 54% from the field and 7 of 9 from three-point line.
And a 6 turnover for North Carolina, so it belongs to Fairfield. There were a lot of upsets across the country. Programs getting beat by mid-majors and smaller programs. You don't expect it to happen.
Yeah, a lot of teams, quite honestly, Clay, are in transition. I mean, you look at Wisconsin, they lost Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker to the NBA. Josh Gosser, DJ Ducan, Trey Jackson, all those guys are gone, so they don't quite have the depth. So they're in a bit of transition, trying to find their new identity without those players.
Meeks with a block. Millen couldn't get over his fingers. And Pinson went in strong and draws the contact. He'll be on the line.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Theo Pinson give that basketball up to Meeks, who made the block on the other end. You got to reward the big guy. Let's take a look at this here. Did he go straight up in there? No, his arm came down. And when you do that, you break that vertical box. And when you do that, it's a defensive foul.
Again, these coaches, these players are going to be in an adjustment phase here for the several weeks leading up to conference play with these new rules. More than 30 new rules or changes. And the officiating is adjusting as well. Some moisture on the floor that they're trying to pick up.
Yeah, I think Gilbert also may have had, has a little blood or cut on his arm because they're wrapping it over there at the end of the bench.
Some of the obvious things that the fans are noticing this year: the 30-second shot clock as opposed to 35. The restriction arc has moved out a foot. One less timeout. And they're trying to make this a prettier game, increase the pace of play, reduce the physicality, which you were alluding to. And I think most fans are going to appreciate these changes once everybody adjusts.
The keyword, adjust.
Yeah.
Because Coach Roy Williams and I were talking about how we don't like the 5-second closely guarded rule being eliminated, because now, you know, a guy can stand out in front and just pound the basketball. And so I would have liked to have seen that one stay the way it was, to reward the defense for good defensive play.
And Roy Williams has been coaching a long time, and sometimes old school coaches don't like to see a lot of changes, especially come at once like that. But he really had that one as his only demerit. He likes most of the changes. Corner jumper for Millen goes down.
And Clay, notice how they got that shot off the dribble. I like when they're able to get dribble penetration because it opens up wide open looks. Fairfield has to continue to drive the basketball.
Fairfield hanging around. They're within 11. Under 16 minutes to go. North Carolina in their home opener. .38-37 North Carolina. Roy Williams hates when this is brought up, but we feel obligated to do it because it's a kind of a cloud hanging over this institution right now. That academic fraud investigation by the NCAA, which goes all the way back to 2011. That's when the investigation started. No time frame for a resolution. Roy Williams is very confident that this is going to turn out okay for the North Carolina basketball program. Neither he or his program named in the allegations. Still, it's been something that's been hanging around. It's affected recruiting. He'll admit that. But he's very pleased. In spite of all that, he had another top 10 recruiting class for 2016, and they're not done yet. But it's been a good November as far as recruiting goes.
Yeah, with them being able to sign top recruit Tony Bradley, that opened up the door for them to get Brandon Woods and 7th Woods, who those guys are some really good ball players.
And you see the 8th ranked recruiting class according to ESPN so far in 2016, and he said, and that's just so far. He might even get better. Maybe implying that he knows something we don't.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the cloud that was hanging over. They missed out an opportunity as a result of that with Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram cited the fact that the dark cloud and potential sanctions, he didn't want to be involved in it, so he actually ended up going to Duke. And that was interesting because he played on Stackhouse's AAU team, so I would have thought that he would certainly be a Tar Heel. But kudos to this Carolina coaching staff being able to go out and get some big-time recruits going forward. Says a lot about their program. And that's another one of those new rule changes there. When you're setting a ball screen, the screener has to be perfectly set and not moving. And he has to be able to give a step if he's out of the field of vision of the guard that's guarding the basketball.
That was the third on Millen, and Fairfield has 3 players playing with 3 fouls now. Right-hand shot doesn't go for Jackson, leaning in. And it's going to come back the other way, belonging to Fairfield with 15:30 to go. 49-37 North Carolina.
Yeah, Justin Jackson is pressing a little bit instead of just letting the game come, and that time getting in the air and wasn't sure if he wanted to make a pass or shoot the basketball. Justin Jackson is a phenomenal player. Got a chance to see him play in the Jordan Brand Classic, and boy, he was phenomenal. And again, if he can make some shots for this Carolina team, it puts them in a really good position.
3-point shot goes down for Millen. And he's got 9. And Fairfield back to within single digits.
Ball movement and the drive. The dribble drive has been really good for Fairfield. I'd like to see them do more of it, creating some open shots as they draw secondary defenders.
Nate Britt across for Berry. He missed that 3 off the heel. Skying for the rebound, Segura. Quick headman pass to Johnson for 3. And a foul on Kennedy Meeks, committed by Millen. And now he's got 4. And the 17th foul against Fairfield. So Meeks will go to the foul line. 64% free throw shooter a year ago. And Kennedy Meeks is at his best when he is aggressive. Roy Williams will tell you that especially. Have you noticed in the first game and a half that he is being more aggressive this year?
When they're giving him the basketball, like even there, he was asking for it, had deep post position, and ill-advised pass there from Joe Berry.
Coleman with the steal. Now Fairfield has to struggle to keep it. Gilbert missed the 3.
Yeah, Gilbert's got to drive that basketball. He's not shot that basketball with any confidence from 3 on the last couple of possessions. Use the shot fake and get the dribble drive. That's what's been so good for Fairfield.
That rattles home for Britt. His second triple of the game. He's got 9 now. And the lead back to 12 for North Carolina.
And that's exactly what Coach Williams wants from Nate Britt, to be able to knock down 2 or 3 threes that'll open up the inside for his bigs.
Jerry Johnson making a contribution, the son of a high school coaching legend. Oh boy, Britt's starting to heat up.
Yeah, I like this pace here by North Carolina. On misses and makes, they should look to push. They do a nice job of running to the 3-point line with their guards.
King, Scott King with his first basket. The transfer from Stony Brook, and Fairfield just refuses to go away.
Yeah, they are playing with a lot of courage right now with 2 of their bigs in foul trouble.
Turnover North Carolina. Segura runs into Britt. And that's going to be a foul against the junior from Maryland. Number 2 on him. Well, Monday, Rick Barnes, the new guy in Knoxville, Tennessee, brings his team into action against Georgia Tech. That's a 7 Eastern start. Presented by Constant Contact. Tip-off College Hoops Marathon, part of 29 straight hours of basketball. I have to chuckle. Every year, it gets bigger, more time, more games. Terrific. 29 hours of basketball. So if you can't stay up that long, set your DVR. We'll appreciate you watching as much as you can. Off the miss, there's Bryce Johnson with a rebound. I really like the way he has played here today. And there he gets another one. Let's see if he can stick it back. No, and then he's going to be called for the foul over the back on King. And that's the third on Bryce Johnson.
Yeah, see, with the way Bryce Johnson can elevate off the floor, when he catches that basketball in there, he needs to just simply take his time, jump in the air. There's very few people in the country that can jump with him and just take right here. Take your time and just shoot it over the top. But that's a good call by the referee, reaching over the top of the defensive player.
Good defense. Boy, Barry just sealed Segura off. He couldn't do anything.
Well, Segura had his mind made up that he was going to pass the basketball, and you just can't do that against a good defender.
And now North Carolina gives it back on the foul. That's on Joel James. And that's the 8th turnover on North Carolina.
Well, again, talking about the rules, they're not allowing offensive players to dislodge the defensive players anymore. So according to the rule, that's a good call.
This game is still too close for the fans' liking here in Chapel Hill. 8-point difference, 12 and a half to go. There have been several upsets already this year. Only a few days into this college basketball season. That three doesn't go for Gilbert. Struggling to try and save that as Johnson can't do it. It belongs to the heels.
Yeah, Gilbert has turned into exclusively a jump shooter. When Gilbert is at his best, he's putting the basketball on the deck, getting to the rim, getting some easy opportunities. Now it raises the level of his confidence to knock down the three-point shot. Right now, he's making the jump shot the priority, and it's really hurting his shooting percentage and hurting his team.
5 of 13 overall, 2 of 10 from 3. And he really was their offense last year, the last couple of years.
14 points in the first half tonight.
Pinson knocks down the 3. And he's in double figures.
Fairfield's going to have to watch the pressure now from Carolina. As the fans start to get into it, they really start to extend their pressure.
King took that shot, won't count. As North Carolina's Joel James is called for his second foul. Theo Pinson in the starting lineup with Page out, playing well. Carolina leads by 11.
Chicago, my town, where past champions will clash. All I want is everything you got, so give it all. And future champions will be decided. The Champions Classic and College Football Playoff Top 25, all live from Chicago Tuesday on ESPN.
Welcome back to the ACC on ESPN, and what a night that is going to be in Chicago. 3 of the top 10 teams in the country and 3 teams that were in the Final Four last season. As you look at that top 10, I know you like Gonzaga's big men. That front court is going to be terrific this year. Unfortunately, we didn't see them play a whole game against Pitt in Japan because of the moisture on the floor. They only played a half. But what stands out to you when you look at that top 10?
Well, just how Duke has gotten off this year. Grayson Allen picking up just where he left off. How about 26 points in his debut here, sophomore debut. Really excited about the matchup between him and Jamal Murray, the super freshman at Kentucky. That's going to be a whale of a game.
Well, it doesn't fall for Kenny Williams.
Well, that's not the shot you want to take when you're just coming off the bench. You want to give yourself a chance to get up and down a few times, get a little lather going before you take that one.
Kenny Williams originally committed to VCU, but flipped after Shaka Smart went to Texas to take that job in Austin, and he's going to come out of the game right now.
Yeah, he came out with a rep as a deep ball shooter. Many are saying he could be the most consistent 3-ball threat since Wayne Ellington in 09, and that's saying something because Wayne Ellington could really stick it.
Free throw shooting continues to be an issue for North Carolina. Coleman Johnson now on the bench for Fairfield with 4 personals. He and Millen both have 4. It's a big loss for the Stags here down the stretch.
There you go.
Gilbert knifing in, and that double team ate him up.
Though he got that shot blocked, I like the drive. He's been settling too much in this second half for the three.
And Johnson will find himself on the strike.
This is exactly what we want to see Marcus Gilbert doing, driving to the basket. But, wow, that tall front line, that's a lot of size there by Carolina. They ate that one up.
Now 3 players now in foul trouble, big time. 4 apiece for Casababu, Millen, and Johnson.
I love that last possession there by Bryce Johnson. He really made himself big down there. Knew he had a mismatch inside with Marcus Gilbert. Didn't waste any time getting into a shot. Wow, they've struggled from the line tonight.
10 of 23 for North Carolina. You couple that with the poor three-point shooting throughout the course of this game, and that's the reason that Fairfield's been hanging around.
Yes.
Well, now we just have been told that they've changed that last foul to Gilbert, not Casababu. So it's the third on Gilbert, and Casababu staying with 3 himself, so that's a break for the Stags. They feed it inside to Casababu, and he's fouled from behind, and that's going to be on Meeks.
Casababu did a great job of sprinting right down the middle of the floor, and I like to see more big men do this. He sealed Kennedy Meeks right in the middle, right at the restricted arc area, because it's confusing. If you watch most times, Clay, when guys post up right there, the defensive player doesn't know to front them or they're playing behind, and you can always get something easy there. Really nicely executed there by Casababu.
Casababu, a freshman from the Congo.
I'd like to see them run a little ball screen with King. They were able to get some three-point shots for King at the top because of how aggressively Carolina double teams the ball handler.
Now the 4th now on Bryce Johnson. So with 7 points and 4 fouls, he'll head to the Carolina bench. 16 fouls now on Carolina, so the Stags at the line the rest of the way.
Yeah, Fairfield calls it horns. I'd like to see them go back to it to see if they can get a jump shot for King.
Being stripped as Johnson turns it over. And now Pinson, who's already got a career high in scoring today with 10 points, will go to the foul line to shoot 2.
Yeah, on that possession we talked about earlier, when Fairfield or whoever the opponent is against Carolina catches it above the 28-second line, you got to be aware of the quick trap. That's another possession there where Fairfield didn't handle it as well. And we saw them go over it time and time again this morning at shoot-around.
I have a feeling I know what North Carolina is going to be doing at practice.
I don't think
tomorrow.
I've ever seen them miss as many free throws, especially on their home floor.
Now Pinson gets the back end. 11 points for Theo Pinson, a new career high. In the corner, Tyler Nelson misses the 3. Nicely done by King in midair to tip it in.
This is the tempo that North Carolina has to play with. We talked about them pushing on mades and misses. That's a really nice job after the layup by Fairfield.
Nobody was going to get in Jackson's way. I don't blame him. He's 200 pounds. Oh, a block there. Nope, they're going to call a foul on Pinson. He can't believe it. Well, the fans sure thought it looked good. Pinson thought it was good, but that's going to be his first personal.
Yeah, I was shielded there. I couldn't see it, but I do like the fact that Marcus Gilbert is putting it on the deck trying to get to the rim. Yeah, Pinson came over a little later there and got him on the arm. That's a good call by the baseline official. I really like Marcus Gilbert. He was third team All-MAAC last year. 16 points a game, 6 rebounds. He needs a lot of help on the offensive end. And then talking to Coach Sidney Johnson, feels like he's got some weapons around him this year to help him handle the offensive load.
Those are his first points of the second half. Fairfield, again, staying within arm's reach. There's Britt for 3, and he bangs it home. His third 3 of the game, and the lead is now 14, their biggest of the afternoon.
That was created by a really nice screen by Justin Jackson on the top of that zone, creating the airspace to get that shot off for Britt.
Casababu to Gilbert for 3, and he answers back for the Stags.
But look at that. He's been able to get to the rim off the dribble drive, make a free throw. Now all of a sudden you have a little bit more confidence to knock that 3-point shot down.
He's got 19 points now. Britt tried to feed it in there to a flashing Hicks. Couldn't get it done. Britt again from 3, and he's really had a good second half.
Carolina's awfully good when Nate Britt and or Joel Berry's knocking down that three-point shot. Now let's see here the next couple minutes if they're able to open it up now and get it down to their bigs on the inside.
Another steal from Meeks.
Handle it, big fella.
Jackson. And it's going to be a timeout. Fairfield 69-53 with 8:41 left.
And this is what I love to see from Carolina. Earlier they screened for it. This time on the ball reversal, Nate Britt is knocking it down in the second half.
The three-point shooting for North Carolina has been terrible, save Nate Britt, who, when he was a freshman, shot with his left hand. Last year, he made a change, decided to shoot with his right hand, and believe it or not, his three-point shooting went up 12% over his freshman year. Really hard to believe. And here he is shooting with his right hand again as a junior, and he's having a terrific day. 4 of 6 from 3. The rest of the team, 3 of 14 from outside.
Nate Britt always ready. Minutes went down 2 years ago, and so not consistent minutes. But anytime they've needed him to step up and make plays, he's been able to do it. Last year, 4 of 5 from the three-point line against Syracuse with 2 of their guards injured.
And Britt has tied a career high today with 17 points and 4 three-point makes.
You talked about a calming influence that Marcus Page brings to the basketball floor. If you watch Britt play, he's never sped up, never changes his emotion out there, so he has an equally calming of an influence on this Carolina Tar Heel team. Tell you what, but I love the job that Marcus Gilbert has done here this evening. 14 points in the first half, and he settled down after taking too many threes here.
Travel on Segura. Kasababu with a pretty rebound to set up Segura there. And Fairfield is without their best rebounder today. Amadou Sidibe still out with that knee injury. They're hoping to get him back soon. They've hung in there with the big guys for the most part.
Yes, they have.
Berry, the head fake, and then the drive. North Carolina will keep it with 15 to shoot.
Yeah, Joe Berry on that drive got a little buried because Nate Britt was wide open to his left for a three-point shot if he could have found him.
Again, it's going to be interesting to see how it all works out when Page comes back. Page on another 2 to 3 weeks with that broken hand. The co-preseason ACC Player of the Year with Malcolm Brogdon of Virginia. And Berry didn't get it to go there.
I like these early pushes from Fairfield. Let's see if they can come up with something here.
This is the guy they like to have it. Gilbert flies in, and it's going to be an offensive foul on Marcus Gilbert. Taking that charge, Joel James.
I think that was Isaiah Hicks.
No, you're right, it was.
And it forces you with this larger restricted area at 4 feet to be able to get there and get planted. I thought he slid a little.
Isaiah Hicks took that charge from Gilbert, and look at this. That's a 4-foot restricted area now. Look at the feet of Hicks. They're actually inside that restricted area.
Exactly, and the rule says that your feet cannot be on, above, or inside of the line. That should have been a block. 2 free throws there for Marcus Gilbert. Well, the officials aren't perfect. Missed one there.
Yep.
And the fact that he moved on that, which lets you know that his feet weren't solid. And so watch his feet, folks, as he comes over. Now his feet are above the arc, on the arc, above it. And so that should actually be a block. Gilbert should be at the line because, again, the rule says that your feet cannot be above, on, or inside of that restricted area.
And that's what the coaches want. They just want the rules that are in place to be enforced the right way. And that was a miss that time. 71-54, 6 points.
Tell you, Isaiah Hicks, number 4 in white, is so consistent when he comes off the bench for Carolina. You can always count on him to get 8 points, anywhere from 4 to 6 rebounds as well.
And now Hicks, who just scored that basket, picks up the foul.
Well, again, enforcing the rule, Hicks was impeding the offensive player from getting to the spot that he wanted to go. And they're going to call, though, so that's a good call by the official.
1 and 1 for Mattia Millen. That's going to be a foul on Fairfield's Kasababu, and that's going to be his 5th.
Yeah, see how Hicks is in his way and denying him. And again, that contact right there, and we talked about that earlier, Clay. That's going to be tough because is that incidental, or is he really keeping him from running the route that he wants to run? And so both of those guys jockeying for position, so I thought it should have been a no call.
Again, Kasababu picked up that foul, but it is 4 on him. There was a change earlier. And we forgot to straighten that up, and he stays in with 4 personals. But now the foul's really starting to pile up for the Stags.
And Kasababu has done a really nice job tonight, throwing his weight around on the interior, running the floor, and without having someone to back him up, to give him a breather. They get awfully small when he goes to the bench, and that's where they miss Amadou Sidibe, who's sitting over there with some knee issues on the side and dress clothes.
So under 7 minutes, and the lead is the biggest of the night now for North Carolina, 19 points. Millen for 3, a draws iron. We'll stay on this end with Fairfield. There's Sidney Johnson. His team won 7 games a year ago. They're picked 8th in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, which is normally a 1-bid league. They just want to get hot at the right time and win that tournament, and that guy can carry them in a tournament setting. Marcus Gilbert, he's got 23 points now.
Yeah, again, when he was relying just on the 3-point shot, he wasn't making very many, but when he can put it down and get to the rim, he's a different 3-point shooter, and he's got a good rhythm right now. I like it when he's mixing threes and drives.
Meeks gets it across for Johnson, and Meeks passed out of that double team.
I thought that ball was actually blocked by King Jr. just in that open space, and Bryce Johnson alert with great hands and hops and throws that one down. That was beautiful.
And now Kasababu has picked up his 5th foul.
Folks, watch when he catches it there. Yeah, King blocked that shot, and Bryce Johnson happened to be in the right area at the right time. And folks, I'm telling you,
right.
It is very hard to, off no step, to elevate in the air like that. Bryce Johnson can really get in the air. My goodness, his first leap is quick and high.
One of the top front courts, not just the ACC, but the entire country. North Carolina with Meeks, Johnson, and Jackson, who they expect to really have a breakout sophomore year.
Yeah, I love this Carolina front line, but Gonzaga's equally not as deep, but their starting front line is terrific. I expect Kyle Wiltshire to have a phenomenal year. And that Purdue front line, goodness, they have size and a half. Let's see what kind of year Caleb Swanigan can have in his freshman year for the Boilermakers.
Some think that Wiltshire could lead the country in scoring this year. He's that kind of talent.
He's certainly going to get enough looks.
And now Johnson's going to find himself back on the foul line. So Kasababu has fouled out for Fairfield. No points, 10 rebounds. And you mentioned the rebound efficiency for the Stags with Sidibe out with the knee injury. Now they're really hurting on the glass.
Yeah, and this is where North Carolina will really start to flex their muscle, because if you notice, when Kasababu was out there, they weren't throwing the basketball in the post as much, but they realized that Fairfield is a lot smaller now. Now Bryce Johnson, Kennedy Meeks, I expect those guys to get a lot more touches in the low post.
for Johnson. Biggest lead for North Carolina now. Jump shot doesn't go. Gilbert has made the last 9 points for Fairfield as they have really slowed down in their offensive production. Meanwhile, North Carolina running away as Justin Jackson gets another 2. He's got 9.
Yeah, Carolina needs more of that aggressive play off the bounce from Justin Jackson.
4 players right now in double figures for North Carolina. That's as many as they had in the win over Temple the other night. They'll probably end up with a couple more. That baseline shot doesn't go for Millen. North Carolina pushing that tempo again.
Kenny Meeks is open down there. Get it to him.
Well, Britt was almost not ready for that pass from Barry. He is now.
Nice.
Nice pass. Jackson to Johnson.
And that's exactly what Carolina should do, Clay. We just talked about with as small as Fairfield is, that Carolina would be more intentional about throwing it in the post, and they are effective in that area right now.
Bryce Johnson, his second double-double of the season in 2 games, and his 12th of his career. 14 points, 11 boards, and it's 81-57 with 4:32 to go here in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, even against Temple, Bryce Johnson off to a slow start, but had a phenomenal second half. 6 of 9 from the floor, 10 rebounds, 16 points, double-double against Temple, and he's been active here in the second half as well, running the floor, getting to the offensive glass, making quick moves in the post. And folks, this kid has the tangibles and intangibles to be one of the best power forwards in the country. When he's making quick decisions, when he catches the basketball, is when he's at his best. But when that basketball's around the rim, boy, he can get off the ground, has great hands, and these are the kind of plays that I like from Bryce Johnson, catching the basketball, turning quickly, elevating over the top. There's very few players in the country who can defend him when he's catching it and going quickly because of the elevation that kid has.
Well, North Carolina has gotten a better effort from Johnson in the second half. All around, it's been a better team game. They had just an 8-point lead at the half, in part because they weren't shooting well from outside. Well, North Carolina has done a better job there, too. 5 of 7 from outside the arc since halftime, and now they've finally opened up some breathing room and ready to run away here.
I think it took Carolina a while to figure out the nuances of that zone, but once they figured it out, the bigs really started to flex their muscle on the interior.
Johnson stripped that away, and
nice find.
Pinson, the feed to Jackson, and now it's starting to really look easy for the Heels.
And doing the Tar Heel style, getting out and pushing the basketball, forcing the defense to have to make decisions, leaving wide open opportunities at the rim.
Meeks tried to get it to Jackson, intercepted. And that goes right through the hands of Curtis Cobb, who's into the game for the first time. Timeout on the floor with under 4 minutes to go. Roy Williams' team is large and in charge. North Carolina's lead was 40-32 at the half. They are in a comfortable position now, leading 83-57 with under 4 minutes to go. Let's take a look at our ACC notebook. We talked about Gonzaga and Pitt not being able to finish that game in front of the service members in Japan because of the wet court. They played one half and then they called it. Upset in Raleigh, Mark Gottfried's team. After he just got that big extension from the Wolfpack, they were upset by William and Mary. That was one of the highlights of the week and so far. And they're coming up next year on ESPNU. We're going to see how they respond after that loss. And then in the third game of our triple header, Wisconsin will try to rebound from an upset loss and take on Siena. There's Joel Berry knocking down a three. Gilbert answers on the other end. He's had an absolutely terrific game.
Again, I love it when he's attacking off the bounce, in transition, in half court, and I think that opens up his confidence in his three-point game. Nice pass.
And Johnson's foul. And that's on Gilbert. And Gilbert is going to foul out. We were talking about the upsets. Wisconsin goes down. North Carolina State goes down. Georgia upset by Chattanooga in overtime. Illinois beaten by Northern Illinois. UCLA went down to Monmouth in overtime. And Georgetown lost to Radford. That took an extra session.
And we said before, a lot of those teams are in transition. The biggest one, of course, is Wisconsin, ranked at 17. They've lost 5 guys last year. Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker in the league. And D.A. Ducan, Josh Gassler, and Trey Jackson all to graduation. And you're talking about some significant players. So I'm not saying that they should lose in a situation like that, but certainly you can understand how they're in transition. A lot of leadership, a lot of talent lost off that Badger team.
Great effort for that young man. Marcus Gilbert fouls out. 25 points inside the Dean Dome. Not bad.
Yeah, you'll remember those. He'll be able to tell his grandkids about that one.
They expect him to have a big year for Fairfield as they start the rest of their schedule against Northwestern on Wednesday as part of the CBE Hall of Fame Classic. Again, they're predicted to have a better year in the Metro Atlantic this year. They hope he can be more of a vocal leader, too. Not just doing it on the floor, but also doing it in the locker room and off the court. They get to go to Chicago, go back home, and they're doing a lot of traveling in the early part of this season. They get it out of the way early before they settle into conference play in late December.
Yeah, I'd like to see Jerome Segura one there in gray and red, be a bit more aggressive off the bounce, trying to find his shot. And as he does so, it'll open up opportunities for his teammates. Because again, Marcus Gilbert, 14, can't do it all by himself. He has to have some perimeter players step up and be able to make some plays to take the pressure off of him on the offensive end.
Iona and Ryder, who they face in December, 2 of the favorites in the league, so they're going to know how good they are early. That rattles out for Cobb.
Pretty talented freshman right there.
Yep. A 3-star recruit for Fairfield. They hung around for a long time in this game before it got out of hand. Segura lofts up the 3, doesn't go. Now here comes Nate Britt having a day to remember. Oh, what an alley-oop to Isaiah Hicks. Nate Britt doing a little of everything in this one.
Teams are dangerous when they have bigs that can run the floor like this Carolina team can.
Nate Britt, the junior from Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
Look at him get up, Isaiah Hicks. And I tell you, when you know that you have guards that are going to throw you the basketball in transition as a big, you will run and run hard every time. Isaiah Hicks getting out in front of the defense, knowing that his teammate's going to find him.
I think Britt is back in the good graces of Coach Roy Williams after that Temple game where he was involved in that skirmish at the end. He left the bench. He was ejected from the game, and because of that, the team had to wear suits and ties on the plane back home instead of the sweats that they normally wear where they're comfortable on the plane. Nope. Coach said because Nate left the bench, you guys have to dress up on the way home.
It's a team game, and when something goes awry, even if it's an individual player, it has consequences for the entire team. So I applaud Coach Roy for doing that. I'll tell you what, though, as a player, if I wasn't involved, I'd be a little ticked.
Well, you know, especially you big guys, it's hard to be comfortable on those small planes. And Tyler Nelson hits that one at the line. He's got 8 points, 90-61.
Clay, I just heard in my ear that you have no idea.
I don't, because I'm under 6 foot. Well under. Nice baseline move. And shot for Kenny Williams as he uses the glass. He's got 4 points.
Coach Williams told me earlier that, everybody talked about his ability to shoot the basketball, but once he got him here, he was surprised at his skill level and his ability to just score it at all 3 levels.
Nelson's starting to get it going, but it's going to be way too late. He is in double figures now. Again, coming up, North Carolina State hosting South Alabama. When we're done here, timeout. North Carolina's going to get some reserves into the game. Nate Britt has been fun to watch from start to finish, especially with that outside shot.
Well, we talked about in the absence of Marcus Page what it would do for his guards in the backcourt for Carolina. Britt has really taken the role and the responsibility and been able to knock down some shots for this team, making plays off the bounce, finding guys in transition, and that's the kind of plays that they're going to need from Nate Britt when Page comes back to take the pressure off the perimeter. Game of Marcus Page.
Britt in this game, 17 points, 5 assists, 4 of 6 from outside the arc, 6 of 9 overall.
Because we said earlier, that's what you were concerned about with this Carolina team coming into this season, is could they make enough perimeter jump shots, which is why with Marcus Page out, it allows for Joel Berry, Nate Britt to be able to prove themselves so that when he returns, then he doesn't have to carry the full offensive load from the perimeter. Nate Britt has looked awfully good both against Temple and tonight.
And Wofford coming up on Wednesday. Then they go to Northern Iowa, and that's the game that's going to be a real disappointment if Marcus Page can't play, and it's expected that he won't be able to play a week from yesterday in Cedar Falls against Northern Iowa. He is an Iowa native. It'll be a homecoming for him, but that hand, they want to get that healed up right so when the rubber really meets the road, he's ready to go.
Well said.
Dalton in there, some of the reserves that worked so hard in practice getting a chance to play here. Fairfield coming back. This is Johnson leading the charge. 30 seconds to go. Fairfield really played well for long stretches of time during this game. And there you see that right hand of Marcus Page. Fractured in practice November 3rd. And he's really been dinged up throughout his career. Played through plantar fasciitis and bone spurs last year. That really affected his season. Now dealing with that hand, you really feel for that young man.
You absolutely do, but it also lets you know why. No, nice backup.
Leone threw it up, and he'll be on the line.
Yeah, lets you know why North Carolina's ranked so high. You talk about a team that had 3 significant guys injured at different stages during the year, yet they were still able to get to a Sweet 16. And I would argue that if Meeks wouldn't have gotten injured in the ACC tournament, they possibly would have won and gotten themselves to a Final Four. So a lot of excitement for this North Carolina Tar Heel program, and I think it's justly deserved.
Preseason #1 team in the country for the 9th time overall. That's the most in college basketball history. And they're going to go to 2-0 with a big second half and a win over Fairfield.
I tell you, I like this Fairfield team. I think they're going to have a really good year, especially if they can get Amadou Sidibe back.
That does it. North Carolina 2-0 on the year, 92-65 the final. For LaFonso Ellis and Tara Petrolino, I'm Clay Matvick. We say so long from Chapel Hill, and now we get you to Raleigh.
We welcome you to PNC Arena here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Game number